This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening. Thank you for being with us tonight. Brittany is on assignment. We are learning more tonight about a Winnipeg couple charged with torturing and killing cats and other animals. And a warning, the details that you are about to hear are disturbing. The killings were recorded on video and then posted on the dark web for people to buy. The CBC's Mike Arsenault has the story.
In a bail hearing for Chad Cabez, Crown Attorney Sean Sass alleges that Cabez and his girlfriend Irene Lima were the owners and operators of a website on the dark web called Goddess May Barefoot Premium Crush. Sass says the two made videos of animals, specifically cats and kittens, being crushed by Lima using her feet, then sold for profit. These are not quick kills, as the timestamps seem to indicate. Some of these videos are 5 minutes long. They're staged, premeditated torturings that result in the death of very vulnerable animals. In August, the animal protection officer got an anonymous tip from someone on the dark web. The tipster discovered the Barefoot Crush site and believed the couple involved were from Winnipeg. Winnipeg police started investigating and found a Reddit account called Fit Foot Lover, which they believed belonged to Cabez. On the Reddit page, Cabez talks about Lima's feet and makes references to his dark website. For anyone who's following my girlfriend's crush adventures, please DM me on how to find her newly established group elsewhere. Police say the anonymous source conversed with Cabez on Reddit and got instructions on where to find the videos and how to pay. The main page of the dark website reads, "This is a place to exchange barefoot hard crush. Previews of May's work will be posted and her content will be available for purchase. Each member will be required to provide one barefoot hard crush video prior to entry. DM for details." Sass describes the posts almost like commercials. When discussing the website, he says, "It's an extremely graphic image that appears to be of a bare foot on top of some animal. It's unrecognizable." Police executed a search warrant on October 9th and arrested Cabez and Lima for various cruelty offenses. Cabez was released on bail with conditions. His defense lawyer, Ethan Pollock, says, "This is essentially a risk assessment in us determining whether or not Mr. Cabez can be released back into the community on conditions. It's the position of defense counsel that my client can be." Lima was in court Thursday, but the case was remanded to a later date. Cabez is scheduled to return to court November 5th. None of the charges have been proven in court. Mike Arsenault, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Growing diplomatic tensions between Canada and India are weighing on some members of the Sikh community in Winnipeg. This after the RCMP alleged this week that agents of the Indian government were behind violent acts on Canadian soil. The CBC's Josh Crabb reports.
This is the house where 39-year-old Sukhtal Singh Gill was killed last September in northwest Winnipeg, a case now tied to the tensions between Canada and India. A year later, it still concerns area resident Inderjeet Singh Brar.
We were very concerned about that. It was like early morning when this happened, and the kids were going to the school at the time. And I don't want this thing to happen in this community.
The RCMP alleged Monday agents of the Indian government may have played a role in widespread acts of violence in Canada. And sources tell CBC News police are actively investigating whether Gill's homicide is connected to 3 men accused in the high-profile shooting death in June 2023 of Sikh separatist leader Hardeep Singh Nijjar in Surrey. Nijjar's killing fractured the relationship between Canada and India. Parmjeet Gill with the Sikh Society of Manitoba says the tension between the two countries is weighing on some members of the Sikh community.
Yeah, we have concern all over. I talk to my colleagues too, and we want to be a peaceful, and then all the relationship be established and peaceful in a good faith.
Tensions flared last year when Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced in the House of Commons evidence linking Indian agents to the killing of Nijjar. Winnipegger Vikram Singh is worried about the diplomatic feud.
Whenever there is a conflict between the countries, we say that the issues should be resolved by diplomacy. But see now, India and Canada both are they're terminating the diplomats. So I don't know how they're gonna fix the problem.
Brar worries those tensions could have a potential impact on some people now living here who require visas to travel back to India.
The thing is, when we go back to the India, so in the airports, then we have to get more investigated.
He hopes investigators can get to the bottom of what happened in his neighborhood. Winnipeg police say they're still investigating the Gill homicide. Josh Crabb, CBC News, Winnipeg.
And we'll have more on the diplomatic tensions between Canada and India coming up a little bit later on in the show. A Portage La Prairie man is facing charges after police say he organized and led an illegal bison hunt on someone else's bison farm. The owner of that farm told the RCMP on Monday that someone had broken into his pasture in the Russell-Binscarth area and that 6 bison were missing. Police say trail cam footage showed 4 trespassers shooting the bison and taking them from the pasture. Investigators then saw a social media post advertising a bison hunt for $1,000 per animal. 3 hunters from the trail cam footage came forward and said they had participated, saying they thought the hunt was legitimate and are cooperating with the investigation. Farm owner Brendan Liskey describes how his farm looked after the incident.
There's various locations where blood piles on the ground. It kind of looked like like a war zone. There's blood everywhere. There's a chain that they had forgot. You can tell it was kind of a rush situation.
The 52-year-old accused has been charged with theft and mischief, and RCMP say more charges are likely. It was supposed to be a trip of a lifetime, a program focused on giving Indigenous youth here in Canada a chance to make cultural connections with Maori in New Zealand. But it left them feeling scammed. The CBC's Indigenous reporter Jackie McKay explains.
It promised an immersive experience, living and working in Maori communities. But instead, participants were left short on cultural opportunities and cash.
I do feel scammed.
I was just really disappointed by the whole experience.
The companies that ran the program, Go International out of Vancouver and New Zealand's Genza. Go International charged $4,200 for the program. Participants had to pay for flights, insurance, and visas. Promises included taking part in a Maori welcome and visiting a Maori village.
There's no way we got what the itinerary said or anything like that.
Bear said the deep cultural experiences were nothing more than tourist hotspots.
It wasn't what I had expected because, when you talk about culture and stuff, it's not a tourist thing.
After the first 2 weeks, things got worse. The group ended up at a remote lodge with no way to leave and working for room and board.
It's less than ideal. We're not getting paid.
Next, they expected to be on a Kiwi farm, but it was a packing plant.
You would just stare at this machine for 12 hours.
Some of those shifts were overnight.
Back to work. Cheryl and I were working on the grading machine, and we were both got so dizzy that we both ended up throwing up.
Their rooms were bug and rodent infested too.
There was a mouse in our bedroom, and I was so terrified to sleep that night.
In response to a concerned parent, Go International said the group confused harmless clicker bugs with rodent droppings. The program promised they would make 750 New Zealand dollars a week, about 636 Canadian. But pay stubs show an average of 338 New Zealand dollars. That's about 282 Canadian. Hundreds were deducted each check for taxes, rent, and transportation. In a statement, Genza said errors were made in preparing participants, and consultations with Maori were inadequate. In an email, Go International said the high standards it set for the trip were not met, and that while most of the participants had the experience that we had hoped for, some did not. Many people left the program early, like Stevens. She's still in New Zealand.
I just think I wasted a lot of money on that program to not receive what I asked for and what was guaranteed.
The people we spoke to asked for a full refund. Go International offered $600 and confirmed the program has been discontinued. Jackie McKay for CBC Indigenous in Vancouver.
Well, certainly a bit of a breezy day today. I guess it kind of makes up for the warmer fall we've had. Meteorologist Colette Kennedy is here now with a first check on our forecast.
Thanks, Riley. I mean, that's more like it, right? Some of those high teens that were in Western Man yesterday kind of spreading their warmth through central and eastern portions of the province, right through the Red River Valley. So seeing some really nice readings, okay, albeit with some strong winds out of the south. Winnipeg gusting, we've had them up to 50, even 60 kilometers an hour at times, but still warm spot in the country, in fact, where we have some of those readings that have popped up to 20 to 21 degrees. So just some incredible conditions, and into northwestern Ontario as well. But as we look to the overnight hours, yes, some of the cloud cover that's been to the west is going to be stretching eastward. With it, we'll have a few showers coming through. 7 degrees, though, because that cloud cover will keep things a little milder. The winds back off somewhat and change to the northwest. And what does that mean? We'll be lucky to have some sunny breaks by the time we get to the afternoon. I certainly anticipate some morning showers, although very light in nature, and a cooler day for tomorrow. But we're going to warm back up again. I'll have details on that coming up.
Sounds good. Thanks, Colette. Coming up, design changes are in the works for a pair of long-delayed flood relief channels in the Interlake. Why the changes are being made and what it means. Coming up, we're back right after this. Longtime Winnipeg MP Dan Vandel is not seeking another term in St. Boniface St. Vital. Vandel made the announcement today, signaling an end to his time in politics after more than 25 years. We'll get to the legislature in a moment, but first, CBC's Bartley Kivas spoke to Vandel this afternoon and joins us now for more on this story. Why is he going now?
Well, Vandal says it's time to retire after spending 17 years as a city councillor and 9 more as an MP, including time as a cabinet minister. Vandal was first elected as a city councillor in 1995. He made an unsuccessful run for mayor in 2004, and he came back to council 2 years later. He became a Liberal MP in 2015. Vandal says he's about to turn 65.
That's really a good point to start a new chapter in your life. Do something else, spend more time at home in Winnipeg and St. Boniface, spend more time with my families, my 3 granddaughters, and less time in airplanes.
Vandal insists he's not leaving because Justin Trudeau's Liberal government is deeply unpopular. Vandal insists he still supports Trudeau.
I'm confident that we can come back and we can win a 4th term. Not because Justin Trudeau and the Prime Minister is God, but because he's at least 50 times better than Pierre Poilievre.
All right, moving over to the Manitoba legislature now. There are changes, Bartley, coming to the flood mitigation channels that are planned for the Interlake. What's the latest on that story?
Well, the infrastructure minister says Manitoba is starting over with the plans to build a pair of 24-kilometer-long drainage channels, and they would run from Lake Manitoba to Lake St. Martin and eventually to Lake Winnipeg. Now, these channels have been planned for a decade. There were major floods in 2011 and 2014. The federal government said in June the channels, as designed now, would have adverse effects on Indigenous communities downstream. Infrastructure Minister Lisa Naylor says Manitoba will change the design.
Could very well look like the original project. However, a number of smaller mitigation projects have taken place over the years that may change what the outcome ultimately needs to look like. But there was never a process of sitting down with First Nations to get their response to the plans, to hear alternative ideas and concerns. So we're really in a starting over place.
Well, the official opposition accused the NDP government of delaying the project.
I think the Premier and the Infrastructure Minister are definitely going to be on the hook for yet another flood under their watch.
Naylor could not say when a new design for the channels will be completed. She also could not say when construction would start. Riley.
All right, thanks so much, Bartley. CBC's Bartley Kivas joining us from the newsroom. 150 Winnipeggers are being awarded for their contributions in their community, all part of commemorating the city's 150th anniversary. Felicia Adams spoke to one of the awardees.
So this is the 2nd oldest bridge in all of Winnipeg.
Jim Smith did not imagine being awarded by the city for sharing his passion for history.
Totally surprised. I just couldn't believe it.
Smith is the creator of the Northeast Winnipeg Historical Society. The group looks to record and preserve the history of the area, like the Louise Bridge.
Would this be sort of the original bridge?
That's the way it would have looked. I guess they have the sailboat, back from this is a drawing from like the, 1890s, early 1900s. That's the way it would have looked, yes.
And so this would be all wood at the bottom there?
The base of it where the tracks were, that was all a wooden base rather than concrete. Like now it's concrete and that, but no, it was all wood.
The awards celebrate the city's 150th anniversary. The 150 recipients were nominated by people who think they've made an impact. Along with a medal, a tree will also be planted in their name.
Among the recipients are Elder Barbara Nipinak, Scott Oak, and Desiree Scott. The mayor, Scott Gillingham, says those who are receiving an award are leaders in their community.
These are people who are, a lot of times, are not paid for the work that they do. These are people who give back to the community in a variety of ways.
The Northeast Winnipeg Historical Society was created 16 years ago and since then has gained thousands in followers. Its creation stemming from a lack of information specific to the area.
I decided I would do my own research. If I wanted to know more, then we'd go into City Winnipeg archives, old newspapers, and just finding out the stuff myself, which I've published, which I've printed online.
Smith's work attempts to preserve stories that would otherwise be forgotten, like the old East Kildonan City Hall, constructed in 1951, which became a senior center, and this home on Winterton Avenue, built in 1902, where the mayor and the council of East Kildonan once sat.
I look upon, if I'm going to be remembered after I'm gone, or people know of me, it's because of my history work.
Getting recognized for that work adds another chapter to the story. Felicia Adam, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Well, certainly a nice day in the south, but I think many could do without the wind today. Let's get back to Colette Kennedy with your full forecast.
Thanks, Riley. Right, it's always a trade-off. You know, you get the warmer temperatures, but then you're contending with the winds. And oh, what else is happening? Yes, we do have this frontal boundary that's pushing in, bringing some of the cloud cover, which kept the temperatures down today, you know, a few degrees to the west, but also some light showers moving into kind of around Swan Lake, Grand Rapids, or just south of Brandon. A little bit of light rain shower activity there too. But the big picture, I really want to show you, you know, all the action here is in the west, and then central and eastern parts of the continent. Yeah, a big ridge of high pressure. It's actually between the two systems that we get that driving force that's been pushing those winds in here and making them so strong, but also clear conditions. We've got to deal with this system coming through, but once it does, we will see some improvement coming. Tomorrow's just going to be kind of a grayer day, and as the front passes through the province, we are looking at a few showers kind of spreading, especially through the Red River Valley into the morning hours, and then by afternoon, I think we could start to see some breaks in the cloud deck, although you'll see there it could be a little bit tight on that. Once the ridge comes in as we go into Saturday, I expect sunshine early Saturday, not so central and north, and then we'll actually see some of those clouds that kind of becoming variable through the day as we go through the weekend. Now, these winds that have been so strong along the Hudson Bay shores, they stay strong. However, we get a break for tomorrow, and then guess what? Some stronger winds will be coming back as we head into Saturday. Not quite like today, however, but at least a direction that's going to push the temperature back up again. So not raining all day tomorrow, very, very light stuff we're talking about, some morning showers, but 13 for the high. Then Saturday with those breezier conditions, 16, but some sun, again, not all day. It's kind of variable through the overnight. Sun back hopefully on Sunday, 20 degrees for our high then. And then Monday looks like one of the best days we're going to see over the next few. Kind of like today, but without the strong winds, although they'll start to ramp up as the day wears on Monday because of the next system coming in Tuesday. And I think you'll notice that'll be after tonight and early tomorrow, the next best chance of getting into some rain showers. And boy, temperature-wise, does the pattern change then. More on that coming up in the dog walking forecast too, Riley.
Like in those 20s. Thanks so much, Colette. Operation Red Nose hopes generous Winnipeggers will help keep it going. The Holiday Safe Ride service recently lost its longtime host charity, the Manta Swim Club. Alicia Dacey at Operation Red Nose says a brand new charity called the Winnipeg Kids Foundation has taken over as host charity, but Red Nose still needs to raise $100,000 by November 15th. For its part, the Manta Swim Club said in a statement that Operation Red Nose had been providing less revenue, and it's been difficult to recruit volunteer drivers. Remember, you can find news updated anytime by heading to cbc.ca/Manitoba or on the CBC News app. We have more ahead after the break. Stay with us. Well, overseas tonight, Israel says it has killed the leader of Hamas. It says Yahya Sinwar was in a group of 3 who died in southern Gaza. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu prepared an address to the country. The CBC's Crystal Gomansing has more.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu telling Israelis and the world, quote, "Today we have settled the score. Today evil was dealt a blow."
אזרחי ישראל, לפני שנה חגגנו את חג הסוכות.
The recorded statement followed official confirmation that the head of Hamas, Yahya Sinwar, was killed Wednesday. Israel Defense Forces say his body was one of 3 militants killed in fighting in Rafah. The news prompted hostage families like Omer Nutra's to call on officials to do everything they can to get him and the others back.
This is a critical, time-sensitive development as it relates to the hostages. Their lives are in great danger now, more than ever. We're calling on the Israeli government and the U.S. administration to act swiftly and do whatever is needed to reach a deal.
101 hostages are believed to still be held in Gaza. It's unclear how many are still alive. Sinwar, 61, was seen as the mastermind behind the October 7th attacks. Netanyahu says this is an important time in the war and vowed to keep fighting full force until all the loved ones are home. Thabet Al-Amour is a Palestinian writer and political analyst in Han Yunis. The Palestinian resistance will not stop, he says. The Palestinian people will not surrender. But that is exactly what Israel's defense minister Yoav Gallant is calling for. All of Hamas to surrender and for every hostage to be freed. Crystal Gomansing, CBC News, Jerusalem.
India shot back at Canada today after Prime Minister Trudeau accused Indian agents of being behind crimes here, including extortion, home invasions and murders. CBC's Salima Shivji has the latest from New Delhi.
We will naturally reject
more denials from India's Foreign Affairs Ministry.
Investigations have revealed
mere days after another round of severe allegations from Canada that Indian agents were engaged in criminal activity against Canadians.
The current crisis in the relationship has been precipitated by Trudeau government's baseless allegations.
This is all Justin Trudeau's fault, India maintains, arguing Canada's Prime Minister is targeting India's diplomats without evidence.
There's a clear pattern to smear India.
Square that with this testimony under oath.
The Indian government made a horrific mistake in thinking that they could interfere.
2 different versions in a very bitter public dispute. As diplomats in both countries pack up, forced to leave their posts, after both India and Canada kicked out the other country's top-level diplomats.
Who's the real terrorist?
At the heart of India's argument that Canada doesn't stop this. Rallies and violent threats, they say, from pro-Khalistan activists in Canada. Indian officials convinced the diplomatic fight is all because Trudeau wants votes from the Sikh community. That view has widespread support in India.
The minor political gains should not dictate your foreign policy with an important partner.
At this market in Delhi, there's pride that India is standing up to a Western country.
I'm very happy that India's got a spine now.
And a lot of disdain for Trudeau.
So he's doing this to give a macho look so that he can win the election.
If Trudeau goes away, then I think it will be solved very easily.
But that hope on the streets that this tension will fade soon is completely absent from the statements we're hearing from Indian officials. The gulf between Canada and India is now wider than ever. Salima Shivji, CBC News, Delhi.
The U.S. says it has carried out strikes against Yemen's Houthi militia, hitting 5 underground weapons storage sites. It is the latest response to the Houthis' intervention in the Gaza conflict. They've waged assaults on Red Sea shipping, hitting almost 100 vessels, in solidarity, they say, with Gaza. And last month, a missile reached Israel. Israel struck the Houthis 2 weeks later. The U.S. had carried out 15 strikes after that. Officials say the damage today is being assessed. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky today pitched his self-styled victory plan for the war with Russia to NATO. The plan includes 2 requests Zelensky has not yet been granted: immediate admission to NATO and permission to use Western weaponry against targets deep inside Russia.
We propose placing on Ukrainian land a deterrence package that would either force Russia to participate in real peace negotiations or allow for the destruction of their military targets.
Zelensky told NATO members his plan, if accepted, would end the war within a year. New alliance chief Mark Rutte says eventual NATO membership will happen, but Zelensky's plan needs more discussion. Former Canadian Olympic snowboarder Ryan Wedding has been charged in Los Angeles with running a drug trafficking ring.
While key members of Ryan Wedding's violent criminal enterprise were successfully apprehended, Ryan Wedding is still at large. The FBI is offering a reward up to $50,000 for any information leading to his arrest and extradition.
Police say Wedding was last living in Mexico. Another 15 people are charged in the case so far. The RCMP say Wedding is also wanted in connection to a number of murders in Canada, including 2 in Caledon, Ontario. Police say the gang was smuggling cocaine through Colombia and Mexico to the U.S. and Canada. Wedding is from BC and competed for Canada at the Salt Lake City Winter Olympics in 2002. Fans of pop music are mourning Liam Payne tonight. As a teenager, he was a member of the British boy band sensation One Direction. Last night, at age 31, he fell to his death from a hotel balcony in Argentina. The CBC's Magda Gabriel-Selassie reports.
Shedding tears and seeking comfort, Liam Payne's fans stand vigil outside the hotel in Argentina, where the former One Direction singer died Wednesday after falling from a balcony.
A shock. I'm in shock still.
That feeling reverberating around the world. Payne's family told the Associated Press they're heartbroken. In a statement, his former One Direction bandmates said they're completely devastated. They said, "For now, we will take some time to grieve and process the loss of our brother, who we loved dearly. The memories we shared with him will be treasured forever." In Japan, Payne's friend, singer Rita Ora, paid tribute in this way during a concert. And in Payne's home country, a message of condolence rang through UK's Parliament.
Can I also send condolences to the friends and family of Liam Payne? One Direction was loved by millions across the world, and this was a tragic end for someone so young.
Forensic teams are combing through the site of the tragedy as new details like this 911 call are released. A staff member says a guest overwhelmed by drugs and alcohol was breaking things in their room, highlighting that the room has a balcony. This picture, released by local police, shows a broken TV in Payne's hotel room. Authorities also released autopsy details confirming Payne died from the fall.
I know that in the morning now.
Payne, who was only 31, spent half his life in the spotlight. As a member of One Direction, one of the biggest boy bands, he performed on stages around the world.
I sort of view them as the internet's first boy band.
This author has written about the group's impact.
Pop stars never felt more accessible because of the ways in which they could communicate, and within that sense of now how we now interact on social media.
All my life. But after the band broke up, Payne had some tumultuous times. He spoke out about his mental health and addiction struggles. Looking back, this culture critic thinks there's a conversation that needs to be had.
The conversation I would like to have is actually about the pressures of fame, what it means to become famous at a really young age, how that might impact people.
Something that you won't forget. As the investigation into what led up to Payne's death continues, what is clear is the lasting impression he made on his fans. Magda Gabriel-Selassie, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, they've become the holy grail of pop music, tickets to Taylor Swift. But fans pursuing that quest face a new challenge on their journey: phony sales offers online. The CBC's Lisa Shing has that story.
It's me. Hi, I'm the problem, it's me.
For die-hard fans, the desperation to see Taylor Swift live is creating big problems.
It's just hard, to point out
who is real.
For a year now, Summer Nickel has been on Facebook in search of tickets to the Vancouver shows in December. 15 attempts so far. All of them failed.
They're very needy, like they're just like, they want you to send the money now.
Tickets to the singer's Canadian dates sold out instantly last summer, and resale prices are going for thousands of dollars above face value. Now that the shows are coming up, scammers are taking advantage, some by hacking Facebook accounts.
You can see on the screenshot, hi, I'm selling out of my 4 Taylor Swift tickets.
Someone also made a fake profile of Nickel's own account to try and scam others.
These tickets are a hot commodity. It adds an element of legitimacy when it's coming from a friend.
Trying to figure out what's real can be tough. Even a quick search for tickets brings up a ton of posts, but it's hard to know who to trust.
I didn't see the red flags.
All to say, I figured out it wasn't real.
But I got smarter, I got harder in the nick of time.
Some people who have been hacked say they've complained, but Facebook hasn't done anything, nor has it responded to multiple requests for comment. Toronto Police also says to verify the seller's identity, like calling them up.
It's very, very difficult for that money to ever be seen again. It's beyond the financial loss. It's really the heartbreak that we see, because it's parents that are desperate to buy these tickets for their kids, or kids themselves who are desperate to get them.
For Nickel, the love of Taylor Swift goes back to her first concert more than a decade ago, so she'll continue scouring.
I'm like willing to pay a pretty penny for a ticket.
Even if it means standing outside the venue when the time comes. Lisa Sheng, CBC News, Toronto.
Look what you made me do.
After the break, businesses closing in Winnipeg's West End are sparking concern among some residents. We'll ask Mayor Scott Gillingham about that and the impacts of retail theft. When we come back, stay with us.
It's kind of making it look like a very desolate area.
A lot of kids hang out there. 7-Eleven's been like that for years, so it's quiet. Like I said, it's made things a lot more quiet.
It's making people a little bit more withdrawn and kind of recluse.
Well, that's just some of the thoughts from people in the West End after a pair of businesses at Arlington and Ellis recently closed. The 7-Eleven was one of the businesses on that corner that has now shut down. A gas station across the street has also been shuttered. Mayor Scott Gillingham addressed concerns about the closures and retail theft this morning on Information Radio with Marcy Marcusa.
These might seem like small closures, but of course we know there's other 7-Eleven stores that are closing in Winnipeg. We had a list of actually businesses yesterday on the air that were closing, some of those due to retail crime specifically. But what are you most worried about regarding the situation plaguing many of our neighborhoods? And when you hear a resident saying it makes you feel bad about where you live.
Yeah, no, I feel for that resident and any resident who's living in areas that are being described here, because when you lose a business in an area, it is a loss to the community, without a doubt. But, one of the things that I would mention as well is the retail crime initiative that has been launched, where we have the police working through provincial funding, has been showing progress. It has made a difference. You talk to retail merchants and outlets, they appreciate the difference it has made. In fact, the Retail Council of Canada locally is using Winnipeg's model right now all across Canada and is touting it as something that is working. Sometimes it's not working fast enough, as in the case probably that the clip we just played. I know, but I talked, for example, to Munther Zeed not that long ago, within the last couple of weeks, and he talked about the difference, the positive difference of retail initiative. Grocery store owner, thank you. Yeah, a food fair. It's made a positive difference in his community. But 7-Eleven specifically, you'd have to talk to 7-Eleven as to all the reasons that they may be closing their stores. I note that for sure it could be theft. I'm not saying it's not. Yeah. I do note that 7-Eleven, I think, is closing 400 stores across North America right now as well, though.
Can we do something to strengthen initiatives, or what can the city do to help smaller businesses? That may be going through closures or having challenge specifically. Yesterday on the Retail Theft Initiative, we crunched the numbers for City of Winnipeg Police coming out to businesses and companies. And it was really noticeable that some larger groups, like Superstore was the example, can afford the hundreds of thousands of dollars that they have to spend on security and having a police officer there. Some smaller, mom and pop shops that are critical to these neighborhoods, like we're hearing about, they can't afford that. So what initiatives could we put in place at that level to help those businesses stay safe and stay open?
Well, first of all, the retail crime initiative is only temporary. I'd like to see it extended. I'd like to see it made permanent. The key to that is going to be, frankly, a new funding model for the City of Winnipeg from the province of Manitoba, because as a City of Winnipeg, we can and we should be taking policing on ourselves. Right now, the province is funding overtime for this retail crime initiative, and it's overtime for police, but it's temporary. We need to make it permanent so that the smaller stores you're talking about that can't afford to hire special duty officers get police and get to foot patrol in their community. And the foot patrol, which is part of the retail crime initiative, has been very, very important.
It's like Osborne Village got.
Osborne Village, the downtown, it's made a big difference as well, because those officers have the opportunity to build relationship with those store owners. So I'd like to see it made permanent, but to do that, I think it's really about a new funding model with the province of Manitoba for the City of Winnipeg.
I have a story out of the news I want to ask you about, and then a quick snapper. So let's do the snapper first. How close are we to announcing the new police chief?
Getting closer. I'm on the police board, and we're through. We're into the interview process. We'll be starting that pretty soon. But as as mayor, I want to see a police chief who is a great collaborator with the province and tackle some of these issues like retail crime.
This month? Next month? Do you think?
I don't have a timeline on it. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, have a look at this. It was a night to remember for lunar lovers right across the world. These are pictures into us from Chile, where stargazers were treated to the closest supermoon of the year. Last night, the moon orbited nearly 30,000 kilometers closer to Earth than usual. This was the third of 2024's 4 supermoons, known as the hunter's moon, because it's historically a signal for hunters to prepare for winter. And in case you missed this supermoon, the last will dazzle the skies coming up on November 15th. Colette, the moon was so bright from my balcony last night, but I guess some cloud will block it again tonight.
Thanks, Riley. Okay, let's just start off and have a little look at our almanac. I always like to kind of look at the normal highs when we're either way ahead of the game or way cooler, but today we know ahead of the game in terms of the temperatures. A normal high 9, more than doubling that, and the normal low -1. We're going to be quite mild overnight tonight thanks to a system moving through. Your sunset tonight and sunrise tomorrow, although it'll be hard to detect with some very light showers that are going to be moving through the province, and generally that's what they are. So with that cold front that's kind of making its way through, kind of they're somewhat connected, but two separate sort of systems here along this frontal boundary. The area of low pressure closer to what's going on for the Pas and northward towards Flin Flon, and then what's happening towards the Red River Valley has more to do with along that cold front as it goes through. So a few light showers tonight, very, very light in nature, a few millimeters at best, and then lingering into early tomorrow before that kicks out, but the clouds linger a little bit longer. So what does that mean? Once that front passes, it allows the temperatures in the west to cool off more than what we're going to be seeing towards the east. We'll also have, even with the cloud cover, still some of those temperatures, certainly milder than seasonal, but a few showers popping up, staying above the freezing mark. Thompson, 3 degrees tonight, and then by lunchtime tomorrow, you'll double that. We'll get into some double digits for Barons River and Island Lake, and then looking further south at what you can expect. Here we go. This model really wants to make it look like some heavier rain than I expect us to see, as I was just showing you with the accumulations. But the temperatures, you have to note, not quite like today, but the winds won't be like today either. So some improvement in that regard as well. All right, today, in the dog walking forecast, I want to introduce you to Cooper, and this was sent to us courtesy of Mark. A fun fact about Cooper: he is 11 years old in people years. In dog years, well, that's just 11 years of wonderful. Your forecast for tomorrow for the dogs and all the rest of us, maybe a little caution there for the start of the day because there could be a few wet spots. Otherwise, we're talking about some cloud cover. I'm hoping to get some sunny breaks there coming a little bit later in the day. Let's cross our fingers for that one. I'll have another look at the long-range forecast coming up.
All right, thank you so much, Colette. Many people are feeling the squeeze of years of high inflation. Some young Canadians are even turning to sharing their homes, their cars, and even clothes in order to save money. Almost half of Canadians say rising prices are greatly impacting their ability to meet day-to-day expenses. CBC's Crystalie Ramlikin has more.
I want to tell you about a woman that I spoke to. She's 31 years old and she has to share a place in Vancouver with 2 roommates just to afford the rent. Together they pay $3,300 a month, and yes, there's just 1 bathroom in that place. Now, expensive housing isn't uncommon in BC, but this is happening across the country. People searching for shared accommodations is up almost 12% compared to last year, and the number of listings for shared living spaces has increased 29%. Sharing a space has not always gone well.
So in 2020, I had a roommate who was going out and partying at a time when we were supposed to be limiting our contact with other people. It was not a situation I would have ever chosen to be in, but I couldn't afford to live on my own.
Another young person that I spoke to who had to change their living situation to help make ends meet is Julia Craig. She used to live in Toronto, but she actually moved away because it was just too expensive to live there. And now she shares a place in Calgary with a roommate.
It's not easy. I mean, I don't know how to say it in any nice way other than honestly, it sucks. I'm almost 30 and I feel like I am paycheck to paycheck. And yeah, it's tough.
And Craig is also doing something else to save money, renting expensive clothes for a cheaper price. She borrows from a business called the Fitzroy for charity events, which she attends for work. The business loans out higher-end quality clothes for special occasions like weddings or job interviews.
You still want to be able to participate in all these big major life events and not feel like, oh, I'm just wearing the same old thing again and again, you know? So absolutely, young people who care about sustainability as well as affordability are definitely coming to us.
People are also sharing their cars to make a little extra cash. Car sharing companies are popping up in Canada. Michael Okoye is the founder of one in Winnipeg. It's called Rent Your Ride. And he says about 40% of the people that sign up and list a vehicle on his platform are doing so to make ends meet. Here's a story he shared with me about a person that's renting their car.
And they said that while their vehicle was listed on their platform, they were able to make enough money to make ends meet because at the time they didn't even have a job.
So people are being creative and innovative to save money, but is this sustainable? Well, experts say there needs to be structural change. They say government needs to step in to help make everyday life affordable for young folks. And there is some hope on the horizon. Economists are predicting that interest rates will continue to go down into next year, and that could help make some housing more affordable and make some debt payments a little less expensive. Crystalie Ramlakan, CBC News, Ottawa.
Here is a sign of fall. Those geese getting ready to fly south for the winter. Colette is back after the break with a last check on our 7-day forecast. Stay with us. We're back right after this. Winnipeg soccer great Desiree Scott says she will retire at the end of the National Women's Soccer League season. With Canada, Scott went to 3 World Cups and won 3 Olympic medals, 2 bronze and a gold. The gold you're seeing here, the 37-year-old won 187 caps for Canada and spent 7 pro seasons in Kansas City, playing for both FC Kansas City and the Kansas City Current. She also played for Utah, England, and Vancouver.
Being able to have a voice that people want to listen to that has impact, I think is so special for me, especially on the Canadian side. You know, I read the red and white. And so to be a part of that team through the success, 2012 was the game changer for us, and to be a part of back-to-back podiums is pretty special. I don't know if a lot of people can say that. So again, just grateful to be a part of that team for so long and to play the sport for as long as I have. It's been an amazing ride.
The Current will celebrate Scott's career Saturday in its regular season home finale against the San Diego Wave.
Yeah, let's kind of give you the Coles notes here of what to expect. And generally, we're talking about it not being nearly as windy as today for tomorrow. Some light showers tonight and early tomorrow. Then quite a bit of cloud cover. We'll get into some sunny breaks. But the weekend, it will be variable at times, but we are looking at generally a nice looking weekend. Breezy again, the winds come back on Saturday, just not as strong as today, 16. Sunday looking good, 20 degrees, and notice the mild overnights too. That is after Friday night. And then Monday, 22, and then that pattern, it changes as we get into next week. Let's just enjoy the weekend in the meantime.
Thanks, Colette. Well, if there's one thing penguins share with humans, it's really starting to feel the cold as they get older. This chilly penguins are daily left.
Bridget, she is a 37-year-old Gentoo. She is one of 3 of 37 that we have, so they're amongst the oldest in the country.
So they describe Bridget as spicy old lady, and she is now thriving after her care team crafted a custom wetsuit for her. Since she's an older penguin, they begin to notice Bridget was having some problems moving around. To put her age into perspective, penguins typically live around 15 years in the wild. Her handlers say Bridget is now able to swim and play in the snow again, just like the younger penguins. Well, I feel like I might need something like that, especially as we get to the colder nights. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great evening.